Welcome to another edition of Bet with Bobano. Monday, May the 6th, Ian Cameron. Connor Mack will be along momentarily as well. Good to be back with you. And we're ready to break down the MLB card and two NBA playoff games in the second round tonight on this Monday night. Again, if you want hockey thoughts, the Ice Guys show, we did it earlier at the usual time. Make sure you check that out if you haven't done so already. All right, let's get to MLB. We will begin with the Detroit Tigers taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Jack Flaherty, Tristan McKenzie, the pitching matchup here. Cleveland, slight home favorites, 7 the total in this game. Is Tristan McKenzie turning a corner? That's the big question because he's a guy that's got good stuff. He's had some injury issues. He's been one of those pitchers that's been, susceptible to the hard hit ball every now and then, and walks have been an issue. Inconsistent start, but is this guy getting into a rhythm now is the big question. He might be. Last two starts have been a lot better. He faced the Boston Red Sox, gave up just 2 runs in 4 innings. Now his pitch count, again, 75, did get up a little bit, but certainly was better. And then they let him run with a little more runway, if you will, in his last start against the Houston Astros. And McKenzie gave up just 2 runs on 5 hits in 7 innings. He pitched really well in that game. Probably his best start of the season in a Cleveland victory. Cleveland's now 3-0 in his last 3 starts. I think he's got a potential to pitch well here. He knows this Tigers team well, and he's actually pitched well against them. If you look at the past 3 starts in his career against the Tigers, McKenzie's given up just 3 runs in a span of 20 innings rather. So 3 runs in 20 innings in his career against the Detroit Tigers. I think he can go out there and pitch relatively well here in this game. It was not a good weekend for the Tigers. They got swept at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx by the Yankees. Cleveland, meanwhile, continues to play pretty good baseball overall, 22-12, leading the division, 10-5 at home. Took 2 or 3 over the weekend from the LA Angels. Meanwhile, Jack Flaherty for the Tigers. Look, he's had a bit of a mixed bag. 3 of his starts were not the best. 2 of them were pretty good. The last one was very good, albeit against his old team, which cannot hit a lick. So I don't know how much you want to make a big deal of Jack Flaherty shutting out the St. Louis Cardinals in 6.2 innings because their offense has been dreadful. But he has pitched well in the past against Cleveland. Last year, as a member of the Cardinals, he faced Cleveland and gave up just 1 run in 7 innings. So we'll see how he fares here in this game. But, I would actually lean under in this game. Now it's 7.5, and I'm seeing it's down to 7 in some spots, but certainly at least a first 5 under makes sense to me in this game. I think both pitchers can probably minimize the damage early on. So first 5 under. I actually do think lean Cleveland, though, from a side perspective. Pretty cheap price for a Guardians team that's 10 games above 500. And like I said, looks like we might be having a trending upward Tristan McKenzie right now for the Cleveland Guardians. So Cleveland would be the side here for me, and I would probably look at a under of some kind, preferably in the first 5 with this game. All right, next up, we've got the Angels and the Pirates, a little interleague action here. Tyler Anderson on the mound for the Angels, Mitch Keller for the Pirates. Pittsburgh minus 160, home favorites in that range. The total, 8, pretty much across the board. We'll see how this matchup goes, but Tyler Anderson, the lefty for the LA Angels, who actually had a pretty good start to the season to this point, but doesn't have much to show for it. And that tells you how lousy the Angels have been because he's pitched okay. They're 0-4 in his last 4 starts, but he's given up 3 runs or less in each of his last 5 starts. So he has given the Angels a chance to win, but little run support, bullpen issues, they've all kind of added up to being a problem here for Tyler Anderson and the Angels. Mitch Keller didn't start off the season all that great, starting to get a little bit better after that. Still not pitching deep, though. I mean, he's only going 5-6 innings in the majority of his starts, and he faced the Angels last year out on the West Coast, and he got roughed up by this Angels lineup. Now, granted, that was an Angels team last year that had Shohei Ohtani on it, but still did not pitch well against the Angels. Ended up giving up 6 runs on 9 hits in just 5 innings when he faced them last July. We'll see how he fares here tonight in this game. Pirates, by the way, they're facing Tyler Anderson, a lefty. their production against lefties hasn't been that bad. 4.5 runs per game against Southpaws so far this season. They ended up taking 2 or 3 over the weekend from the Colorado Rockies. Meanwhile, the LA Angels, what can we say, 2-8 in their last 10 games. They've just been absolutely abysmal. So it's very difficult to want to back them. But at the same point in time, I don't want to lay this kind of a price with Keller and the Pirates. I would look at the over here, honestly. 7.5, minus 120. It's low enough where I could see these two teams doing enough against these two pitchers and, quite frankly, these two bullpens to be able to get this game up and over the total. You look at the bullpens, the Angels bullpen historically, annually continues to be a disaster. Nothing different this year. 5.24 ERA from that Angels bullpen going into tonight. Pirates bullpen's actually been pretty solid, 3.76 ERA, but certainly, the Angels bullpen can open the door for late runs. There's no question. And I do think that the Angels might be able to, do some damage against Keller. Again, Keller did not pitch well at all when he faced this team last year. So over 7.5 is the look for me here with Angels and Pirates. All right, next up, we continue on this Monday MLB slate. White Sox and Rays down in Tampa Bay. It looks like it's going to be Mike Clevenger on the mound for the White Sox and Tyler Alexander here for the Rays. We've got right now Tampa minus 170, home favorites, 8 being the total here in this game. Of course, Mike Clevenger on the mound. He's been around the block. Of course, started his major league career with the Cleveland Guardians, you'll remember. We'll see how he fares here in this matchup tonight against the Rays. Of course, with the White Sox last year, 3.77 ERA. He didn't pitch that bad, but we'll see how he fares here tonight, making his first start of the season, called up from AAA Charlotte. Again, we'll see how he fares here in this start. It looks like with AAA Charlotte, 3 runs, 10 hits in 7.1 innings and 2 starts. I think it is a little bit concerning, at least for me, that in just 7.1 innings down there in the AAA ranks, he gave up 10 hits. It's not exactly what you want to see. So see if the Rays, again, do some damage against him. Meanwhile, Tyler Alexander, lefty, on the mound for the Tampa Bay Rays. He really hasn't had a great start to his season by any stretch of the imagination. They gave up 3 runs in the first 2 innings against Milwaukee. And then pitch count got up to 85 in just 4 innings. And overall on the season, a 5.02 ERA for Tyler Alexander. So that's not exactly what you say is something that induces confidence. This is another one where I could make definitely a case for the over. I know the White Sox lineup, it's just like with a lot of things with the White Sox, hasn't been good. But, you look at slowly but surely what they've done lately. They've started to finally put the bat on the ball and put some runs on the board. Last 2 games in their series against the Twins last week, they scored 5 runs in each game. Over the weekend against St. Louis, after getting shut out on Friday, they scored 6 on Saturday, and they scored 5 on Sunday. So slowly but surely, you're starting to see this White Sox lineup get things going. Tampa Bay, of course, was in an offensive drought for a very long period of time. Like, they were really struggling to score runs. Then they played the Mets over the weekend at Tropicana Field, and they found their offense. 10 runs in the first game. Low scoring in the second game, only 3 runs, but then 7 runs in the victory yesterday. So maybe a little sign of life from the Rays here that their offense is starting to pick things back up. I think what's also worth mentioning here with these two teams is, remember Tampa Bay, one of the best bullpens in baseball all these years? Not this year. 5.06 ERA. That is definitely a decline from where we've seen this Rays bullpen in years past. The White Sox bullpen, as mentioned, is not the greatest either. So, I don't really trust Clevenger. His AAA numbers were middling. I don't trust Alexander. He's got a north of 5 ERA. We know both bullpens are a little suspect, so why not take a shot here over 7? Well, it was 7.5. It's up to 8 now. I still like it at 8. I think we can get up and over the total here with the White Sox and the Rays. All right, Brewers and Royals next up. Bryce Wilson on the mound for Milwaukee. Cole Reagans, very impressive lefty for the Kansas City Royals. We've got Kansas City minus 135 to minus 140 home favorites, 8.5 being the total here in this game. 2 good teams right now. Milwaukee 20-13, Kansas City 20-15. It's been a very surprising start for both teams, more so Kansas City. although the Royals did lose their series over the weekend against Texas. Milwaukee enters this one, losing 2 of 3 against the Cubs. So we'll see both teams looking to bounce back a little bit. Bryce Wilson on the mound here for Milwaukee. This is a guy that was with Pittsburgh and Atlanta previously in his career. And when you look at Bryce Wilson here for the Brewers so far this season, he's actually pitched all right. He's not pitched deep into these games. So, we're going to see a decent amount of the Brewer bullpen here in this game. But definitely he's pitched okay. He's given the Brewers a chance to win. That's what you're looking for. Excuse me while I pick up the mouse here. It fell down. All right, there we go. When you look at it, he's pitched okay. He's given the Brewers a chance in every game. The Brewers are actually 3-1 in his last 4 starts, so we'll see if he can carry that over here in this one. I'm very impressed, though, with the lefty here, though, for this Kansas City Royals team, Cole Reagans. We saw what he did last year. He came on the scene, joined the rotation. It was very, very hard to hit. Ended up pitching very, very well. And the start of this season has been pretty good for him as well. He had 1 blow-up against Baltimore where he gave up 7 runs in 1.2 innings. Even the best starters are going to have a bad start every now and then. But I've been impressed with how he's bounced back. 1 run in 5 innings against Toronto, and then 1 run, 4 hits, 6.2 innings again. Well, both starts came against the Blue Jays for Reagans, but certainly was a lot better in those outings. We'll see how he fares here in this one. The Brewers, it is worth noting, not very good this season against left-handed pitching, and that's an understatement. Hitting 193 for as good as the Brewers have been this year so far. 193 they're hitting as a team against lefties so far this season. So that would be concerning for me going up against Reagans. Kansas City, 239 as a team against righties. I think I'd look to play the Royals probably in some form in this game. First 5, full game split potentially. But to me, Bryce Wilson is just like a journeyman, middle of the road type of pitcher, in my opinion. And you're going to see a lot of the Brewers bullpen. And Reagans, to me, has shown a lot of upside. And, going back to the middle part of last year, he's pitched damn good for this Royals team, aside from maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. So I like the Royals here. First 5 full game split. We got Connor Mack now with us. C-Mac, how are you? What's up?
What up, what up? Let's get to it. Yeah, Bryce Wilson's been pretty good for what basically he's got to do, go 3 or 4 innings. Because he's not going to fool anybody. And he definitely doesn't need to walk anyone. That just hurts him. And Reagans has been excellent. A little bit just of the switch. Now here, you touched on the Brewers' struggle against lefties. It's just been awful all year. Now the Royals in a game like this are favorites. You got to pay the juice. Yeah. So that's always something to look at. That's what's keeping me off this. Because the other way I could see, Brewers are a pretty good team. They're 20-13. Jumping them from just the regular guy betting plus money. I can't do that either. So this is a game I stayed off.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. For me, it's just playable enough at the price. I don't love the price we're getting on Kansas City here, but it's playable enough, like I said, for a little small dip here for me with the Royals here in the first 5 full games. Just we'll go back quickly over the games that I already went through, just see if Connor's got anything on them. We'll start with Detroit-Cleveland. Did you go anything with that there, C-Mac?
No, I didn't have anything on these early games. That game, but it showed the under. Yeah. But McKenzie can't be trusted, so I had to stay off. And we're talking 7.5 runs, right?
I think he's starting to turn a corner. His last 2 starts have actually been very good. So I actually took.
He did look better
a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, he did. He looked better. I don't know how much I believe it. I have to see more. Yep. And this line, I think, on the total is sharp. So I'm off.
All right, Angels, Pirates, White Sox, Royals. I actually made a case for the over, honestly, Connor, in both of those games. What do you think?
The Angel game, I kind of do. Some great numbers, not crazy amount off Keller. And the Pirates, they have just struggled, seems like, to score runs. I mean, that last game with the Rockies, I think it was 0-0 till the 9th or 10th. I mean, god damn. And then I think they won 5-2 the next day or 5-3. Yeah, I wouldn't mind the over there. Here, there are 7.5. So if you do like it, get on that. We're going to get to a couple here. I like a few overs, so I do like some unders. I didn't bet that, but I play on the over there. Angels, Pirates.
And same thing for me, Connor, with White Sox Rays. I liked over 8 there. I don't trust Clevenger's given up 10 hits in 7 innings down in AAA. That's not what you want to see. 10 hits in 7 innings. He's been around the block. And this Tyler Alexander for the Rays has a 5 ERA. And don't look now, the White Sox started to hit a little bit, over the weekend. So I think over can get there with White Sox and Rays. And Rays are starting to hit after they
Rays, that's what I was just about to say. Their bats have woken up a little bit after, I think, looking dreadful. Maybe they feel good about themselves, basically being 500. And I liked them a couple of those games with the Mets. They came through, scored some runs, especially that first one. How long? This White Sox team was so goddamn bad. Could they really be? They still have some good players here. This is the major league, and they have. I know the Rays, as much as I liked them against the Mets, and we're on I'd be on the White Sox here. White Sox are nothing with Tyler Alexander. I know Clevenger's on the mound the other way, but I jump on the White Sox first 5 here for a little bit. I think it's worth a shot.
You know what? I've been burned way too much. The few times I've backed the White Sox, they haven't gotten it done for me. But you're right. I would only look at the underdog here. I'm not laying a price like this with Tyler Alexander and a 5 ERA pitcher. Just not going to happen. So yeah, I would lean to the White Sox a little bit there in that one. All right, we continue along. Next up, we've got San Diego and the Chicago Cubs. Darvish and Steele actually should be a pretty good pitching matchup here with this game. We've got the Cubs minus pretty much even money, actually, minus 110, 7.5 the total here in this game. Yu Darvish on the mound for the San Diego Padres. Pretty solid start to his season overall. A gem in his last start. He shut out Cincinnati. Although 5 innings, could have pitched deeper. I guess that's been the one little issue here so far with Darvish. He hasn't given them a ton of length. Most of his starts have been 5 innings, no more than that. So we're going to probably see a decent amount of the Padres bullpen, which hasn't been all that bad, quite honestly. But Darvish hasn't been eating innings, but he's been solid. He's given up 3 runs or less in the majority of his starts. I still can't get over the fact, though, that overall in his career, he's been noticeably worse on the road than he's been at home at Petco Park. So, that does concern me now playing in Wrigley Field. I know the Cubs, though, from an offensive perspective, they've kind of hit the skids lately. They had a little bit of a slump there last week swinging the bats, but they did kind of bust out of it against Milwaukee over the weekend. They scored 6, they scored 5 the last 2 games of that series. And meanwhile, Justin Steele on the mound here for the Chicago Cubs. We haven't seen him since March the 28th, in a starting role. So we'll see how he fares here coming back into the rotation here for the Chicago Cubs here in this start. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes for him. 2 career starts against the Padres for Steele, 0.73 ERA. And again, the left hamstring strain for him is what's kept him out since that season opener. And Justin Steele is someone, C-Mac, that I bet a future to win the NL Cy Young this season. So that tells you how much I think of him as a pitcher. I think he's really good. So by default, I could only look at the Cubs here. I think I like Steele. He's a bet-on guy all the way for me. Darvish has the capability to match him, but Darvish has sometimes been a little susceptible on the road in his career. So that would have me tilting the scales and leaning towards Chicago here. What do you think, C-Mac?
Yeah, I think it's Cubs are nothing in this one. There's just the small pause with Steele. The guy just made a ton of money for me, though, the last 2 years. And already that first start, I think he won the hamstring. I don't love it. Obviously, it's better than his arm. But even the AAA start in Omaha wasn't great. But that's where I could look. Darvish, I don't trust on the road. One thing we're starting to see, and we're going to get to a couple here coming up with Bobano, was last year, because every year is just different. Maybe it was the rule changes. Right away, there was a ton of overs. This year, there's been just a ton kind of unders at cash. Now these totals are starting to get too low. Yep. This last series with the Padres D-backs, finally some good weather. I think the roof was open a couple of those days. They were just getting too low. They were loving with some bad pitchers on the mound. Wind's blowing in here. It is really not quite 10, but, we have a 7.5 with 2 really good pitchers. Can we get runs, though? Like you said, Steele's owned the Padres in the couple starts. And not a ton of Cubs have hit Darvish. So good one here. But I for me, I haven't bet it. It's the Cubs. And this has come down a little bit, basically to a pick 'em.
Yeah, we're getting a better price. So I'm liking the Cubs even more now that we're getting a little bit of a better price with it. All right, we got Mariners and Twins Next up, Luis Castillo for Seattle, Simeon Woods Richardson for Minnesota. We've got, looks like Seattle slight road favorite, minus 115, 8 the total. I see Seattle catching fire. I mean, they're starting to play good again. Their pitching is starting to pitch like I expected. It was a nice series for them in Houston. Really, they could have won all 3 games. Kirby pitched all right. Then the bullpen blew it for Seattle. And then they got 2 tremendous starts out of Bryce Miller and Logan Gilbert over the weekend against Houston. But, Seattle's starting to play some good ball again. And now they're 4 games above 500. So is Minnesota, though. Minnesota's been on a great run after that slow start, 9-1 in their last 10 games. Castillo on the mound for the Mariners, who had a rough start, first few starts, but he's really bounced back. He's given up just 2 runs in his last 20 innings. So obviously Castillo's back in good form again. Woods Richardson here for Minnesota. He was a highly thought of prospect, a while back, and he's pitched all right, so far. 3 starts. He's given up 4 earned runs over 14.2 innings, 3-0 for the Twins in his 3 starts. So, you got Castillo in good form. Woods Richardson's been serviceable. It's a tough game. Seattle, they're both in good form right now, these teams. So not an easy game to choose. I would say I lean under here. Definitely both pitchers in that kind of form right now. What do you think here, Connor? Seattle, Minnesota.
Yeah, there's a pretty strong wind blowing in here. Not too bad, though, in Minnesota. It's like 68 degrees. But I don't trust the offenses. So at the 8, I think you take the under. Now, Woods Richardson, this guy was a big prospect, but he can get lit up. And I'm just worried, when is that coming? So when I look at this under, because I want it too. Castillo's been pretty good, a lot better. Some of these guys' averages are pretty good.
Castillo good numbers against Minnesota, I should mention.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, through his career have been decent. So I think it's under or nothing, though. I mean, you just kind of hope he doesn't get lit up crazy. And it's been 4 straight starts, a couple on the road. I know one in Colorado, one in Texas, but Castillo was good. So under here or nothing.
All right, Mets and Cardinals at Busch Stadium. Manaea and Gibson, the matchup. Cardinals minus 120, home favorites. The total in this one is 8 across the board. So I got enamored with how well Manaea has been pitching, and he's been pitching all right so far this season. I think the one time I did bet on him, he got lit up by Kansas City. I still remember that. But, other than that, he's actually pitched well. Will this continue is the question. The Cardinals have been absolutely horrendous against lefties. I mean, 175 as a team right now against lefty pitching. There's something about Manaea I still don't fully trust. And another thing that concerns me a little bit too about Manaea is, he's gotten away with a lot of full counts, and there's been runners on base. His strand rate's high. He's been walking guys. He's been walking a fucking tightrope, Sean Manaea, and at some point the rope is going to snap. Will it be tonight? I don't know, because St. Louis is horrendous offensively, and they're horrendous against lefties. But I still think there's going to be some rough times coming for Sean Manaea. The question is going to be, will it be tonight? Kyle Gibson for St. Louis. Look, he's even been pretty good. He's given up 1 run in each of his last 3 starts against the Brewers, the Diamondbacks, and the Tigers. We'll see if he can keep that rolling into tonight in this game. So you look at these 2 pitchers and you look at their form and you think under. I'm kind of worried they kind of get hit tonight, because the Mets are starting to really swing the bat here of late. And so I actually kind of lean the other way with the over, taking a bit of a proactive approach. I think Gibson's due for some correction, and I definitely know Sean Manaea is not keeping this up indefinitely, because he has gotten out of trouble. He's been getting away with some control and command issues. So, it's a scary thought, because the Cardinal offense has just been such a problem, and especially against lefties. But I actually lean over a little bit with these 2 pitchers. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, I mean, is it really going to continue with this Cardinals team, especially these guys that we know just hit lefties well? Goldschmidt, Arenado,
it doesn't make sense, because this was one of the best lefty pitching, best team against hitting lefties for the last couple seasons. Now all of a sudden they can't hit. You got to believe there's going to be some improvement coming. I
think there is. So I think their team total is a decent look, but I like the over here. This was one I was hoping maybe could get a 7.5. Really, really like. But I think even at the 8, So I've seen him not. Well, he has looked okay in some of these starts, but he has looked just like what he does. He's gotten out of it at times. Lots of walks.
Yep.
High counts. You just nothing's easy for him. It seems like every once in a while he has the classic like 3-strike, but usually there's just walks in between, and he struggles. So they had 353, only 34 at bats. Classic guys: Arenado, Contreras, 3 for 5, 3 for 6 with some homers. You want to look there. But while I've liked Gibson and over his career has been pretty good for me in the spots, his pitch decent. I think he gets hit. A lot of these Mets have seen him and own his ass. 284, and that's with Pete Alonso 0 for 17. Yeah. So you take out that. Jeff McNeil 7 for 19, 2 doubles, 2 homers. Look for him. It was over 1.5 bases. His home run. JD Martinez 10 for 34, a couple homers. How about Lindor's 19 for 54 with 3 doubles? Joey Wendell owns him 11 for 29. It's tough to trust him. Like you were talking about the Cardinals versus lefties and the Mets bats, but the over is the only play here for me. I think you got to take it in this one. I kind of like the Cardinals, but I don't even want to back them because I think you go team total or just the over because they're right around minus 115, 120. I wouldn't even lay that juice with them. Fuck that.
No, I agree with that 100%. All right, Texas and Oakland. Andrew Heaney, Alex Wood. Southpaw battle here in this one. We've got Texas minus 140, road favorites at the Coliseum, 7.5 being the total here in this one. We've got obviously Texas 19 and 16. Oakland, even though Oakland's 17 and 18, this is still a big surprise that their record is this good. That they're flirting with the 500 mark. And again, they win another series. They took 2 of 3. Against the Miami Marlins. They swept Pittsburgh. They took 2 of 3 against Baltimore. Like, we do need to pay a little bit of respect to what Oakland's done here. They've been they've hit the ball better. They're getting some better, other than Boyle, who's terrible. All their other starters for Oakland have been pretty good, or at least giving them a chance to win, including Alex Wood. Alex Wood's been solid. He had a couple starts there where he did give up 4, but the last 2 have been a lot better. Had a gem at Yankee Stadium. 1 run in 5.2 innings, 2 runs in his last start against Pittsburgh, pitched solid. The A's are 4-1 in his last 5 starts. Wood is 3-0 against Texas, going back to 2021. That's something worth mentioning. So definitely when you look at this matchup here, we'll see if Wood can continue to pitch well. I'm still not a big fan of Andrew Heaney. I'm not. I know he's been probably better than you would think coming into this start tonight, but still, overall, we'll see how he fares. But 4 runs, 5 hits against Seattle. Only went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs against Atlanta. He's not eating innings. His one really, really, really good start, Heaney, was last time against Washington, where he gave up 1 run in 7 innings. Other than that, he hasn't pitched deep. He's been, walking guys. Home runs have been an issue. Hasn't been eating up innings. You had to see a lot of the Texas bullpen in these games, which, by the way, is a worse bullpen than Oakland. There's a 1-run gap between these two teams with their bullpen. Texas bullpen, 4.07 ERA. The Oakland bullpen, how about the job they've done? 3.04 ERA for the Oakland bullpen this year. I actually think the home dog might be live here. I'm certainly not looking to lay this kind of price with Texas. And, are we going to see Texas drop off a little bit at some point? Yeah, probably. Yeah. But right now they're playing well, and right now they've been an undervalued money-making commodity for their backers for the last couple of weeks, if not the whole season. So, I still think the value's on their side tonight. So maybe I'm going to jump in here. Nothing significant, but a little bit on Oakland here. First 5 plus price, full game plus price, split it up. Home underdog money line spot for me with Oakland. I think it's worth a shot. Like, they almost swept Miami, and the only game they lost against Miami was that awful pitcher Boyle. They can't put him back in that rotation. He's terrible. But everyone else in that Oakland rotation has been serviceable. They've been decent. They've been giving this team a chance to win. Wood, Blackburn, you go on down the list, they've all given this team a chance to win. Rooker's been hitting well. Like, some of their lineup too, they got better bats than you would think. So yeah, for me, I would only look at Oakland at this price. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I don't want the Rangers. I think they, for what I've seen from them, and they put like the other couple of games, 15 runs on the board. But this offense, they've had to deal with injuries. It's been, hit and miss so far. this year. The A's have been better. I don't know how much they keep this 500 ball, but I think they're better than a lot of people thought. One thing with Alex Wood, he's crafty, and he can. I worry these pitchers could go the big ballpark. I always like an under in this spot, but the wind's blowing out 7.5 here, Bobano. With these two guys on the mound, I don't fucking buy it. Like if I lose this 3-2, I'll take it. But I think you got to be on the over in this one. Alex Wood, he went 4 innings, gave up 3 against the Rangers last year. These starts are all like 4 innings, and he's getting away with the walks. We just talked about Sean Manaea. He's very similar. I mean, more crafty type guy. But his ERA is still 6. Like they're asking him to just try to get through 4 innings, basically. 4 and 4 or 5. And Heaney 0-4 with a 5 ERA. Give me the over here. Yeah, and I lean the Oakland side that way.
All right. I think the over, too, is not a bad way to go about it, too.
I think this is now too low.
Yeah.
We're just too low with some of these come up. And this could be tough because this game I could see being kind of an under. But I think we have to take it. Weather's nice. And I'm not a big over guy there at the Coliseum, but I think we're too low here. Like this, in some of those matchups, like I mentioned yesterday, they dropped the run. Like in Arizona, are going to be 9.5, 10. Bobano, when this year goes on, they're just too low. And this was one that's probably usually 8.5. That's 7.5. That we're getting.
Yeah, no doubt. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes here. But I'm with you. Oakland and over would be the way I would go as well in this one. All right, final game for this Monday slate: Miami Marlins, LA Dodgers. Roddery Munoz, and look who is back. Walker Buehler. He is finally back in the rotation for the LA Dodgers. Man, it has been a while, obviously, since we have seen Walker Buehler, and it'll be a great moment, I'm sure, tonight at Chavez Ravine to see him back on the bump. We've got the Dodgers here, minus 340, home favorites, 8.5 being the total here in this game. Let's start with Roddery Munoz, who's actually been very good. 3 runs in 11 innings in his first 2 starts against the Cubs and the Rockies. So it's been actually very solid for the Marlins. Now, this is going to be a big step up in class as far as the quality of the lineup, quality of the opposing offense is concerned. But so far, Roddery Munoz has been very solid here for the Marlins. Of course, Walker Buehler has not made a start. You know when the last time he made a start? June of 2022. That's how long ago it was. So it's going to be a heck of a night, a surreal night for him. It looks like he's from what I've read, C-Mac, about Buehler, and you're a Dodgers fan, but he's actually had an uptick in his velocity, and he's actually been throwing the ball a bit harder going into this return start here tonight.
Which happens after those surgeries. It's happened before with him. Yeah,
no doubt. So he might have a little pop and an extra life in his arm tonight and in his arsenal here against obviously a Miami team that we know when they're up against any sort of capable pitcher, they can get completely shut down. So we'll see how it goes tonight. But the problem is Roddery Munoz has been really good for them. I'm not sure this is a night to lay a huge number with the Dodgers or take the Dodgers run line. Could you take a chance that maybe this stays under if Munoz can be halfway decent? And I certainly don't know if the Marlins are going to be doing a shit ton of damage against Buehler here, who's a quality pitcher, can be an elite pitcher when he's on. Does look like he's got life in his arm, as he hasn't started in almost 2 years. So this might be a shot to take a chance with an under. It's always difficult sometimes with the Dodgers, but hey, the Dodgers have had their slumps offensively at times this season. So yeah, I'm not involved in the game. I'm passing, but I'm just throwing it out there. If I were to lean one thing or another, side or total, it would probably be under. What do you think, C-Mac?
That's what I was looking at in this game. Buehler's back. Marlins off scoring 12 runs to not get swept. And how about the Dodgers? After sweeping the Braves, classic flat spot here for them. But this lineup's so good. Like, they could score 6 runs, blah, blah. I don't know if you get it from the Marlins. Look at maybe their team total under. One thing he's at.
You could see 6-2. It stays under. Yep.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. I think it's under or nothing in this game. His starts and everything, he feels great. And he's kind of gotten hit a little bit, but he's just coming back, in some of the starts. He's basically was going just 2 1/3. Then he's worked his way up the last couple of starts. But his fastball looks great. I think once he gets going with everything he's got, the curve, it should be should be good to go. But I think he can handle this Marlins offense tonight. Yeah, that's what I wrote down in this game. The under the flat. Munoz, he's going to start getting hit. He's not this good as he's been, but yeah, could he shut down these Dodger bats? It's a question. This team's just hot right now. It's just tough to do that. But I think you take the under, nothing for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Munoz.
Maybe the Marlins like first three if you really like want to stomach it. See if they could get off Buehler and Munoz just because of the flat nature of just coming off the sweep of the Braves.
The Dodgers have done this before. Big weekend series against a higher profile team, and then they stay at home on the Monday night without a day off. They play a lesser team, and they've shit the bed in that spot.
I mean, other than Buehler, you think they're pumped tonight? I mean, I'm sure that
with Buehler back.
Yeah, that is. But that's not the only. But normally, yeah, this is the sleepy type game.
This is a nice little landing spot for Buehler too. You get him in there. It's a weaker lineup, weaker team, so it's a nice little spot to put him back in there. Walker Buehler pitching for the first time in almost 2 years. All right, we got NBA playoff action, second round tonight. 2 games in NBA playoff second round conference semifinal action. We will start in the East where we have the Indiana Pacers and New York Knicks. Game 1. Knicks 5.5-point home favorites, 217 the total in this game. What an interesting series this is. You've got an Indiana team that's more offensive minded, pushes the pace. A Knicks team that is capable, is probably the better defensive team, probably looking to slow it down in this series. So you have a bit of a contrast of styles. Series history this year: 3 regular season meetings. Indiana at home got their preferred pace. They won 140-126. Madison Square Garden, 109-105 for the Knicks. And then, of course, another game in New York. Pacers emerged victorious, 125-111. But be careful. Some of those games, that's back when there's a lot of injuries going on for the Knicks. They're obviously a lot healthier. I know that last meeting there was no OG Anunoby in that game for the Knicks. There was also a couple other absences there for them as well. So keep that in mind. But it has the potential to be a very interesting series here. Game 1, I don't have a strong feel for game 1. The Knicks are coming off that big series win against the Sixers, but how much were the Sixers compromised by Joel Embiid not being at 100%? And it was too much reliance on him and Maxey. At least with Indiana, especially with the way they played offensively against Milwaukee, you've got to pay attention to multiple players that can hurt you. It's going to be tougher to guard everybody. It felt like against Philly, you keep Embiid and Maxey in check, you're going to be okay. If you're the Knicks defending the Pacers, you got to worry about Tyrese Halliburton. You've got to worry about Miles Turner. You got to worry about Pascal Siakam. Andrew Nembhard got his offense going in that series. You've got the likes of off the bench TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Knicks handle. I think there's just more versatility at the very least offensively with the Pacers than maybe what a compromised Sixers team could throw at them. But again, we'll see at how they fare. Something about Indiana on the road too. Let's see how they fare in game 1. They're coming off a huge series win, like beating Milwaukee. Get this younger team getting that first series win. Do they have the poise and the maturity? That's the word. The maturity, to go on the road here, game 1, Madison Square Garden, frenzied atmosphere, and have the poise to get the job done. So this is one of those games where I'm kind of sitting back, seeing how it unfolds. I do think when you look at the way the series meetings unfolded between these two teams, that they put the total, at least in my opinion here, for game 1 at least, a little too low. I mean, one of the games that was 246, one of the games was 236, and then the only one that stayed under was 214, which is only a little bit below where this total is. So I understand why some people like over here. I could make a case for that. But from a side perspective, I'm going to pass, and I'm going to decide what to do in game 2. Game 2, I'm going to bet something based on what happens tonight. But I think game 1 here is a little tricky with Knicks and Pacers. A lot of people saying the Knicks win the series. I think they do too, but I think the Pacers are more competitive in this series than some people might be giving them credit for. Again, my only concern with saying that is the Pacers got a Milwaukee team where Damian Lillard missed games. Giannis was incognito, unavailable for much of that series. So how much of that was Indiana good and how much of that was Milwaukee just didn't have the team needed to compete and win that series. That's up for you to decide. But right now, I lean Knicks in game one because I do think they could get the jump on Indiana. Let's not forget, Indiana had a terrible game one against Milwaukee. It's almost like they needed a game to figure out the opponent before they got going. So, like I said, I think the Knicks will take game one. I don't know if I'm going to lay the 5.5. Probably not. Lean over. What do you think here, Connor? Game one, Pacers, Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, Knicks here at home. I think this number, it's getting a little big here at about 6. I like the Pacers. I think they can hang a little bit in this one. One thing you hit on, which I like, is this Knicks, they don't have a bench. McBride comes. I mean, Brunson's got to do so much. I mean, and he will, but it's like every night, he's got to shoot at a ton, score 40 points. It's going to be tough. I think this is a pretty good series. I don't know if the Pacers win it, but I think it's pretty good. And I love how the Pacers young, but they got that deeper bench and more guys in and out. Halliburton still deal with this. He's played well though with his back. I still don't think he's been anything like he was in the beginning of the year when he's dealing with his hamstring or his back. But I think Pacers here. I'm close to. I haven't bet it yet, but that's where I've been looking all day. +6, full game. I think this game's close.
All right, like in Indiana here, plus the 6, 5.5, 6, depending on where you shop right now with that. Pacers to keep this one competitive for CMAC. All right, the second game tonight, game 2 of this series, Minnesota and Denver. Denver 6.5, 7-point home favorites. This opened 5. It's gone up. Predictable money on Denver, given the fact they lost game 1 at home. 207.5 the total here in this game. I don't think you're going to meet too many people that don't like Denver tonight. I mean, it's just such an obvious. It's the defending champs at home after losing game 1. Prime bounce back spot. Rudy Gobert downgraded to doubtful, it looks like, for the game tonight. I don't think he's going to. It's questionable due to personal reasons. But here's what I'm looking at. If Gobert is out tonight, I'm probably looking at a quicker pace, less defense. That's always the way it is when Gobert's out there. I'm looking at some kind of Denver team total over or full game over combo if Gobert is out, because it's going to quicken the pace, maybe a little bit more of a quicker lineup, smaller lineup for the Timberwolves. And I think Denver probably benefits from that offensively if Gobert's not on the floor. So I'm waiting to hear. First of all, look, I think Minnesota can win this series. And I was on Minnesota. I'm on Minnesota for a small bet in the series. I was on Minnesota in game 1. I'm definitely not going to take him tonight because it is a Denver spot, no question. But I'm not going to lay this many with Denver either. Rather, if Gobert's confirmed out, I think that's the way to approach it. Rather than lay the points with Denver, take the team total over instead. Maybe split it up with the full game over, because without Gobert on the floor, you're going to get a quicker pace. And obviously Minnesota is a little bit worse off defensively without him. So that's the way I'm probably going to approach it. C-Mac, what do you think here? Game 2, Timberwolves Nuggets.
Yeah, you got to watch if he goes. I don't think he does. And maybe we do get a quicker pace. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit low, but I like both these teams. The two are the better defenses all year. I like the under in the first game. Without him, I'm really not crazy about it. We're already seeing maybe it uptick a little bit by a half point. 208s. We're basically now there's 208 and a halves. Jamal Murray, he's dealing with this calf. I thought he was just okay in the last game. I'm on the T-Wolves just as big as you are. I mean, I think this team could win the series flat out. One thing, it's just the spot. Your defending champs, after they lose, we're a place where they're so good at home. But if Gobert's in, I want to be T-Wolves back on at least first half. I know the last game was 44-40, and then they had a great second half. Scored 33 in the third, 33 in the fourth. But I think it's too many points. I just do. I think these teams, they match up well. I think especially for the T-Wolves. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a Nuggets dominant game 2 in this one. And if Gobert's out, I have to just maybe lay off it and the total, because I would be right back on the under in this game. That's what I was looking at. So I'm waiting on that as well. They need better games, from Gordon, better shots. Porter was all right, but And these guys have to play a ton. This Nuggets team, a lot of them over 40 minutes. So, man, yeah, I just would keep T-Wolves. I think the T-Wolves are for real. So, and they already stole one.
Yeah.
So that's what they basically probably what they came for was to at least get the one. But should be a good game. I can't wait. We got time on this game too. That game is at 10 Eastern. There's no rush on it.
I agree. I would say be careful with, like I say, if you're going to take Denver now, look at maybe the team total instead. I would not feel comfortable laying 6.5, 7. I think you're paying the tax of the must-win spot, trying to avoid going down 2-0 at home. And let's not forget in the Lakers series, okay, they won and covered in game 1, but game 2 they only won by 2, laying the same number 7 against the Lakers. And the Timberwolves are a whole lot better than the Lakers. So keep that in mind. Denver just wants to win. They don't necessarily need to win by margin. So I think, like I said, I just think you're paying a little bit of a premium here if you like Denver to.
Yeah, or put our guy Gold Jr. Yeah, if there's no Gobert like it looks like, maybe look at McDaniels. He had no points too. I mean, obviously in there for a lot of. I think
Nas Reed
stretch defense
undervalued too with props.
Yeah,
Minnesota. Yep.
Yeah, of course. I just think that he is solid. McDaniels is a bounce back game. I don't think he scores. I think he's back scoring, 10 to 14 instead of the goose egg he had.
Yeah.
But they're really looking for his defense, his stretch defense that he provides. But I mean, to win a game with him not scoring was solid.
That's pretty impressive, actually. Minnesota won game 1 with Jaden McDaniels, who was always going to be one of their best defenders. But for him to not do anything offensively and you still won that game on the road in game 1, I think you've got to be encouraged for sure if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, no question. All right, Connor, let's get your thoughts on the one NHL Stanley Cup playoff game tonight. Only one game, Boston, Florida, game 1. Who do you like in the series, and what do you like in game 1?
A series, I have to take the Panthers. I've said it from jump. I think they go back to the Stanley Cup. No, they win it, but I think they get there. And we'll see. Rangers and Canes does a pretty good game. Rangers took care of business yesterday. I can't back the Bruins down. I don't know. They just seem in a fun. They got by there. The Leafs, I thought, could pull it out. They just did classic shit. They couldn't, because this team just seems like they're just, after the 3-1 lead, just drawing down, dead, basically, this Bruins team. And now, can you regroup and, like, hey, we just advanced. You got to feel good about that. I got to see it. And I think this Panthers team, all year long, Bobano, I said, one of the best 5-on-5 teams in all of hockey, I thought. So, and then when you put on the special teams, are clicking, they will win. Yeah, pretty easy. I would lay it with them. I haven't bet it, but I take them on the puck line.
All right,
puck line. And it's tough. Bruins are a gritty team with gritty guys.
That was awesome. That's the one thing they have going for them. They have Jeremy Swayman was awesome for them. He's got to steal.
You're right.
For them. Yep.
I think he does. Yep. But it's tough. Goalies can get so hot in the playoffs, and you can ride it. We need to see, Pasternak, these guys got to get going. I'm sure he'd be great to score that goal to win it, but there's just been nobody. DeBrusque, I think they've just been nowhere to be seen. Yep. Charlie Coyle, all these guys. It just, those last 2 or 3 games. It's tough for me to back them, but they could steal one. It'd be crazy. Jump in here. A lot of people, I think, you get the Bruins plus 150, 140. I don't know. I think it's a watch. I don't think I can bet it,
All right. We got best bets to wrap up the show. Connor, NBA, MLB, whatever you want. What do you got for best bet?
Oh, man. We have to wait on everything going in this one. I'll be on this here. The bad stuff, give me Seattle, Minnesota, under 8, minus 110. I think we see more no runs in that game.
All right, there we go. Seattle, Minnesota under. I'm going to go for my best bet, also in MLB. I'm going to go with that over with the Mets and the Cardinals. Over 8 minus 115. It was either that or the Cubs. I really do like the Cubs here tonight as well.
I like it.
That was my next choice, but I'm going to go with that Mets Cardinals over 8. I think we got 2 prime regression candidates as far as starting pitchers are concerned. Sean Manaea and Kyle Gibson. And I think the regression starts tonight for both of those guys. The Mets are starting to hit too, by the way. They really are after a slow start. Cardinals numbers against lefties have to positively get better at some point, and tonight could be that night against Mania. So Mets Cardinals for me over 8 for my best bet. There you go. That's Bet with Bobano. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Gold Jew, thanks for joining us. Everyone else tuning in, hit the like button. We're back on Wednesday, of course, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific for another edition of Bet with Bobano. Have a great Monday night for CMAC. I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy your Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We're back on Wednesday. Bet like Tony Soprano. Bet with Bobano. And we'll see you again on Wednesday for another edition of